People always ask me, can we request a different judge or do we have a good judge? And while that's a fair question, the answer might surprise you. It is not always the judge who decides your fate. In most criminal trials, it is the jury, not the judge, who's the most important. I'm Diane Bass. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I've spent decades in courtrooms fighting in front of judges and juries and defending my clients. Today I want to talk about the role of a judge versus the jury and why the judge really isn't the one that you need to worry about. If you're facing charges or navigating the criminal justice system, keep watching. This might be very enlightening for you. So let's break it down. What exactly does a judge do, and where does the jury fit in? The judge is like a referee. They don't choose the winner, they just make sure that the rules are followed. The judge controls what evidence comes in, how the trial flows, and what the jury is allowed to consider. The judge also instructs the jury on what the law says, but they do not decide guilt or innocence. Now, in a bench trial, if there's no jury, then obviously the judge takes on that role. But in most criminal cases, especially in federal court, you always want a jury trial. So what does a jury do? They listen to the evidence, they listen to the arguments, and they review the evidence, and then they go into their deliberations and they decide if the prosecution has proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Is the defendant guilty or not guilty? So that's the heart of it. The jury decides the facts, the judge decides the law. Now, does that mean that the judge doesn't matter? Not exactly. Yes, the judge can definitely influence the process. Some judges are more strict on procedure, others are more flexible, but ultimately the judge determines what evidence comes in and what evidence stays out. They rule on objections. When you hear them say sustained, overruled, that's their job. A judge's background, like if they're a former prosecutor, or their demeanor or any unconscious biases that they may have, can definitely impact the outcome of a trial. But a judge never gets to hear your side of the story, like you don't ever get to talk to the judge. Unless you're testifying, that is the only time that the judge will hear your side of the story. So if there's a particular judge that we know is really bad for the defense, we can, in state court, file a motion to disqualify that judge once. We get one shot at that. In federal court, we're stuck with whatever judge we get assigned to, which may be a good thing and it may not, unfortunately. So is it important who your judge is? Sure, but it's not everything. In the end, it is the jury who decides your fate. That is why the defense needs to really spend time with you and build your story and present you to the jury. So if you are convicted by a jury, the jury finds you guilty, then the judge is the one who sentences you. And that can make a difference. So if you've got a really harsh sentencer as a judge, that may be a bad draw. But other than that, ultimately, it is the jury who decides your fate. So if you or someone you love is facing criminal charges, I'm here to guide you through every step of it, every jury, every courtroom.